Well, World's Groups is basically done. I think we got a couple more minutes on the clock of this final match, but I'm joined right now by Power of Evil with coverage brought to you by Alienware. Power of Evil, what were your expectations going into this game or into this day? Because I think a lot of people, especially after seeing a 0-6 TSM, thought, well, maybe we'll pick up a win against Unicorns. So, what were your personal expectations? Did you expect to get out, or how did this day play out for you?
I personally expected it to be a very hard day, especially being 1-2. We knew coming in we needed to win, most importantly, the game against DRX, and then take it from there. And obviously, as well, a little on a personal level, I felt a little bit anxious because there was so much pressure on us and so much pressure on like as FlyQuest as the last remaining North American team to perform and to do well. That obviously like going in, we were a little bit nervous, but I think today, so like that was yesterday. We were nervous yesterday. Today, I think we were pretty calm and collected. And obviously, it's sad that we couldn't make the win against DX happen. But I'm happy that we, I guess, ended the day on a good note, winning against Tess and UOL and having two strong performances against them. And yeah, somewhat showing good performance.
I mean, you were the first day or the very first game of World's Groups, and you are the second to last, but definitely the last of the North American teams to play at World's Groups. So you were in the unique position also of having to CTL with their day, and then having to CTSM with their day. So how did that impact you? You said you were pretty stressed on it, but like as you were watching the other NA teams go through their stuff, how was that sort of sitting with you?
Well, obviously, we somewhat knew that it's going to be nearly impossible for TSM to come back. I think they could have won a game here and there, but it doesn't really matter if they end up 1-5 or 0-6. And I was generally surprised and happy to see that TL had a strong performance. I feel like I expected them not to do as good as they did, but they maybe found a better team identity or they changed a few things here and there. And I feel like they had a strong performance. And out of my own experience, you could get out of the crew with 3-3, but obviously we both didn't make it a 3-3. That's not like obviously luck based. That's like we didn't make it because we didn't deserve it, but there's sometimes a chance, you know.
Yeah. Well, you described TL as having a strong performance. Do you feel like FlyQuest had a strong performance?
Yeah, I think we struggled against DRX. I think they just play better than us. I definitely felt that we could have beat Tess in the first game that we faced them, but ultimately fell short. And obviously had a good performance against them in the second game. But how the standings were, we needed to obviously either win a game against DRX or we needed people to win more games against top esports.
Well, I'm kind of curious. How do you, looking back on the past year of FlyQuest's performance and competition, do you view it? Because I think in this moment, probably a lot of fans in their mind only have NA didn't make it out of groups for the second time in a row, and they might be really disappointed. But focusing solely on FlyQuest, you guys seemed to be really the only consistent team in the LCS this year across spring and summer. You made it to Worlds for the first time. So do you feel that in that moment? Does it feel like a big accomplishment? Do you feel proud of what you guys were able to do this year?
Definitely. On one side, I'm obviously sad that the world journey ends here, but on the other side, looking back and trying to, I guess, recapture what happened this year with back-to-back finals and making it to groups, and while having a hard group, somewhat showing a good performance, obviously makes me happy. And I feel like individually, it was a really fantastic group for myself too. I think Group D had like extraordinary mid laners, and having a strong performance against them and even just playing against them and learning a few matchups, like learning, like even little things like trade patterns. I feel like you can take so much away from this worlds or like these worlds experiences that you have. And hopefully we can, yeah, take that with us and take that with us into our region and maybe adapt or slash transfer some of that knowledge to, other teams, other players, and have a strong performance the next, season.
So setting aside the results, what was your Worlds experience like? Because obviously you had to go through quarantine, then you get into groups. You obviously had a lot of chances to scrim against top teams. A lot of like, in a sense, a team's experience at Worlds is like the tip of the iceberg for all of us fans at home, because we only see the 6 games that happen on stage. We don't get to see the solo queue and the scrimming and all that. So, how would you kind of to describe and the rest of the experience that you had at Worlds?
Oh, well, definitely it was at the start very chaotic and crazy, like landing, COVID tests, 14-day quarantine. It was definitely a really weird and new experience with a lot of chaos in there, like, oh, where do I need to be? Like, oh, like when is the next test? Where is it? Stuff like that. But I think, I don't know, just playing Worlds is always really fun, scrimming against the top teams. And even just playing solo queue in China on the super server was really fun, because it was the first time since like 8 months that I could play like on really low ping and play against like, I don't know, like crazy mechanically good players here, and they're like a one trick on Eevee or something, and they're like shit on me, and it's like, wow, damn, like this guy is very good, Stuff like this is, I think, is really funny. And as well, just having this team experience, like this team bonding, we every day in the same room playing solo queue, screaming other teams. I would say like being more crazy, because the longer you are with other people, the more how do I say
Comfortable?
nice? The more dumb you can be, the more dumb jokes you can
Yeah.
make, stuff like that, right? So it was I don't know, a really unique experience that yeah, I will probably carry with me
Are
for the
there
rest of my
any
life.
are there any players in either in your group or even just in scrims that you got to play against at Worlds that you really enjoyed playing against, that you were like, oh man, it's really neat that I got to do that, or that player was so strong I learned a lot?
I think playing both our matches against DIX and scrimming some of the Queen teams, I felt like they had the strongest performances against us all the time. I think they really started on us. I think the Chinese teams are really strong mechanically, but I felt like we could outshine them in some of these mechanical team fights, or even like, yeah, early game, even like laning phase wise. But I felt like we fell short against these Korean teams macro wise. So I think the Korean teams definitely had the strongest performance against us. And obviously as well, it was fun again, screwing some of the European teams and meeting some of my old friends, and yeah, just playing against some of my old like teammates like Hilly Sang and stuff like this. It's really fun.
Do you think LCK is probably going to win Worlds this year? It does feel like they're looking really good. I keep hearing people talk them up too.
I think it's hard to tell, or like right now, because obviously every group is different, and it's gonna be. I think quarters really shines through and tells you a good idea on which team has, like, let's say like a 3-0, and you go to semis and this team is gonna be beast. So I think quarters will say a lot, but I definitely think that the Korean teams should be the favorites.
What happens for you now? Obviously, your season is done. Are you going straight back to Europe to see family that you haven't been able to see in a long time?
Yeah, I think we're probably gonna book the flights soon, like in 2-3 days, and then fly back home. For me, it's going back to Germany, and I'm gonna be really happy seeing family in France again. I think it's gonna be awesome. I didn't see them for as well like 8 months, obviously since I didn't travel home after Spring Split, and yeah, I think it's just gonna be happy. I'm just gonna be happy to sit back, sit in my chair, and relax, and maybe take a little break from League for like a week or two, since we pretty much played League nonstop throughout the entire year, and yeah, now it has an end.
Well, you are headed back there, and your season is done. A lot of fans are, and in fact, LCS season is done essentially, right? So a lot of fans right now are perhaps frustrated or worried or whatever. I don't know if you have anything that you would want to say to any of the LCS fans who are looking at our results this year, or you know, having thoughts like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely sad to see how many people trashed on an A, or like, yeah, like, I guess like flamed an A. I was pretty nervous yesterday and anxious, as I mentioned before, going into today's matches, because I felt a lot of pressure, and I kind of wanted to, I guess, make North America proud and make this region proud that I'm obviously representing and playing in. And I think the main thing I have to say is, for all the fans out there who supported us and who supported like the other teams in these, like, I would say, difficult times and dark times even. I think yeah, like, big shout out to you guys. I think it's really helpful, and I think while it is disappointing not getting out of groups. I think for everyone, like not only you guys as fans, but as well for us as players, I think it's important that we take what we learn here today into the next season, and yeah, obviously not have the same performance and showing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, PoE, for the interview. It was very fun to watch you guys play today, especially your Vayne game in that last match. But
Thank you very much.
thank you so much for the interview, and looking forward to seeing you at the start of next year in the LCS. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things Worlds right here on my YouTube channel. You know, when the first settlers were traveling across America, they came right down this road, and they needed supplies. And you know who they relied on? Alienware for those supplies. That's right. They needed to have like a great M15 laptop to ensure that I'm gonna keep doing this while we move out of the way. They needed a great laptop to make sure that they could weather the challenges of travel. I have no idea what this looks like. I don't have Broden with me. And so that's what they did. They actually... Is this car slowing down too much? Is he going to ask me a question about what I'm doing? Okay, no, we're good. They moved on. So my point is, yes, those settlers, they relied on Alienware. And you can rely on Alienware. There's a link in the video description. Thank you to them and DraftBuff for sponsoring my Worlds coverage. And they're doing a giveaway for a bunch of cool stuff. So go check out the giveaway. If you enter, it really helps us out.